The Pioneer dove between two massive asteroids as bright energy beams cut through space where they had been moments before. Jake gripped his chair as the ship shook from near misses, while Zara worked frantically at the communications console with her hand pressed against the interface. "Their targeting systems are more advanced than I expected," Zara said through gritted teeth. "I can confuse them but not blind them completely." "That's enough," Jake replied, steering the ship around a spinning chunk of metal that used to be part of a planet. "Tony, what's our tactical situation?" "3 Corvin ships, all larger than us, all faster," Tony reported from his station. "They're herding us deeper into the asteroid field where we'll have less room to maneuver." Dr. Lisa Parker looked up from her scanner. "Captain, I'm reading some unusual energy signatures from the larger asteroids. It's almost like there's technology buried inside them." Zara's eyes widened. "Yes, those are Velothi mining stations. My people built them here long ago to extract rare metals. Some might still be functional." "Can we use them?" Jake asked as another energy beam scorched past their hull. "Perhaps. If I can access their systems, I might be able to activate defensive measures." Amy Walsh suddenly called out from her station. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the surface of the planet. It's the other Velothi." "Put it through." A weak voice came over the speakers, speaking in broken English. "Human ship, the Corvin are taking our people to their ships. They say we helped the stolen one escape. They are angry." Jake felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. The Corvin were punishing the innocent Velothi for his decision to help Zara. "Can we go back?" "No," Zara said firmly. "Going back will not save them. It will only give the Corvin what they want and doom your people as well." The Pioneer shook again as a Corvin beam struck their rear shields. Sam Chen's voice came from engineering. "Shields down to 60%, Captain. We can't take many more hits like that." Jake made a desperate decision. "Zara, try to access those mining stations. Everyone else, hold on." He steered the ship directly toward one of the largest asteroids, one that Lisa's scanners showed was honeycombed with ancient tunnels and chambers. The Corvin ships followed, their beams lighting up the space around them like deadly fireworks. Zara closed her eyes and pressed both hands against the console. The device around her neck glowed so brightly it hurt to look at directly. "I have found one that still responds. The power core is weak, but there are still some defensive systems online." "What kind of defenses?" "Mining lasers that can be redirected, and something else." Her voice became excited. "Captain, there is a Velothi ship hidden inside this asteroid. It is old, but it might still function." Jake's mind raced. A Velothi ship could be their salvation or their doom. How old? 200 years, maybe more. But Velothi ships are built to last, and this one was hidden on purpose. The first Corvin ship rounded the asteroid just as Zara activated the mining station's defenses. Ancient but powerful lasers erupted from hidden emplacements, catching the alien ship by surprise. Its shields flared and it was forced to retreat behind cover. "Nice work," Tony said with approval. "But they'll be ready for that trick next time." "Need to get inside the asteroid," Jake decided. "Zara, is there a docking bay?" "Yes, but it will be a tight fit and we will have to shut down our engines. If the Corvin follow us in, we'll deal with that when it happens." Jake guided the Pioneer through a narrow opening in the asteroid's surface, following scanner readings and Zara's directions. The passage was barely wider than their ship, and the walls were lined with strange crystalline formations that glowed with their own light. They emerged into a vast hollow chamber carved from the heart of the asteroid. And there, sitting in the center like a sleeping giant, was a Velothi ship. It was beautiful in an alien way, with flowing curves and surfaces that seemed to shift color depending on the viewing angle. It was smaller than the Pioneer, but looked much more advanced. "Amazing," Lisa breathed. "The hull appears to be made from some kind of smart material. And those power readings—" "It's called the Windseeker," Zara said softly. "She was my grandmother's ship, hidden here when the Corvin first came to our world." Jake brought the Pioneer to rest on a landing platform near the alien vessel. "Can you get it working?" "I think so. But Captain, there is something you should know. To fully activate a Velothi ship, The pilot must interface directly with its systems. It requires a mental connection that is intense. You mean dangerous? Yes. And once connected, the pilot becomes part of the ship in a way. They can control it perfectly, but the process changes them. Before Jake could respond, Amy called out urgently, "Captain, the Corvin ships are entering the asteroid. They found our trail." "How long do we have?" "Minutes at most." Jake looked at his crew, then at Zara. The alien girl was staring at her grandmother's ship with a mixture of longing and fear. "I can do it," she said quietly. "I can wake the Windseeker and get us out of here, but Captain, if I do this, I may not be the same person afterward." "Zara, you don't have to." "Yes, I do." She stood up, her decision made. "My people built that ship to protect what we loved. Now I must use it to protect new friends." They transferred to the Velothi ship through an airlock connection. The interior was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. The walls seemed to be alive, pulsing, gently with soft light. Controls appeared and disappeared as needed, responding to thought as much as touch. Zara walked to what was obviously the pilot's station and placed her hands on a crystalline interface. "Please stand back." The moment she made contact, the ship came alive. Light raced through the walls and floors like blood through veins. The air filled with a harmonic sound that was almost like singing. Zara gasped, and her eyes rolled back, showing only white. For a terrifying moment, Jake thought she was dying. Then she spoke, but her voice was different, deeper, and more musical. "I am Zara who was, and I am Windseeker who awakens. We are one now." The ship rose from its resting place without any sensation of movement. Through the viewports, they could see the Pioneer, and beyond it, the Corvin vessels entering the chamber. "They cannot follow where we go," Zara said in her new voice. The ship moved toward what looked like a solid wall, but as they approached, a passage opened that Jake's scanners hadn't detected. They emerged from the asteroid's far side, just as the Corvin ships were boarding the abandoned Pioneer. Jake felt a pang of loss for his ship, but he knew they had no choice. "I'm sorry about your ship, Captain," Zara said, and for a moment she sounded like herself again. "Ships can be replaced," Jake replied. "People can't." As the Windseeker accelerated away from the asteroid field, heading for the edge of the star system and the hyperspace jump point, Jake realized that everything had changed. They were no longer just humans who had rescued an alien refugee. They were now allied with a being who was part alien, part machine, and part starship, carrying knowledge that could change the galaxy. Behind them, the Corvin ships emerged from the asteroid and began pursuit, but the Windseeker was faster than anything they had. As they reached the jump point and prepared to leap across space toward human territory, Jake wondered what Earth Command would make of their story. But that was a problem for later. Right now they were alive and free, and Zara had kept her promise to help them escape. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Pioneer and watched the fourth planet grow larger on the main screen. The year was 2157, and humanity had been exploring space for over a century. This was supposed to be a simple survey mission, to check if any worlds in the Kepler 442 system could support human life. Jake had done dozens of these missions before, and they were usually boring. His crew would scan the planets, take some samples, and file a report that no one would read for years. But something was different about this planet. Dr. Lisa Parker, his chief science officer, had been frowning at her instruments for the past hour. She was a smart woman who rarely got excited about anything, but now she looked worried. "Captain, I'm reading artificial structures on the surface," Lisa said without looking up from her console. "They're old, but definitely not natural." Tony Rodriguez, the security chief, moved closer to the screen. He was a big man with scars on his hands from his time as a Marine. "Could be ruins from a dead civilization," he said. "We've seen that before." Amy Walsh, their communications specialist, suddenly sat up straight in her chair. "Captain, I'm picking up transmissions from the surface. They're weak, but they're there." Jake felt his pulse quicken. In all his years exploring space, he had never found a living alien civilization. Humanity had discovered plenty of ruins and fossils, but never actual aliens who were still alive. What kind of transmissions? It's strange, sir. Some of it sounds almost like our old radio broadcasts from Earth, like someone has been listening to our signals and trying to copy them. Jake made his decision quickly. Set us down in a clearing near those structures. Full landing party with weapons, but keep them hidden. We follow first contact protocols. The Pioneer touched down on a world that looked like Earth might have after a terrible war. The sky was gray, and the air smelled of smoke and metal. Strange towers rose in the distance, their surfaces cracked and broken. Smaller buildings spread out around them like a city that had been abandoned and then occupied by people who didn't know how to maintain it. Jake led his team across the rocky ground toward the nearest settlement. Lisa carried her scanner and took readings of everything they passed. Tony had his hand near his weapon but kept it concealed under his jacket. Amy wore a recording device that would capture any sounds or signals they encountered. The first aliens they saw were working in what looked like a garbage dump. They were humanoid but taller than humans, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. Their clothes were torn and dirty. They moved slowly like they were very tired or very afraid. One of the aliens saw the humans approaching and made a sound that might have been a warning. The others stopped working and stared. Jake raised his hands to show he meant no harm and walked forward slowly. That was when she appeared. She came running from behind one of the broken buildings, moving faster than the others. She was young, maybe the equivalent of a human teenager, with the same blue skin but brighter eyes that seemed to hold more intelligence. Her clothes were in better condition and she wore something around her neck that looked like technology rather than jewelry. She ran straight toward Jake, which made Tony reach for his weapon. But she wasn't attacking. She was pleading. "Please," she said in accented but clear English, "please take me away with you." Jake was so surprised that he almost stepped backward. The alien girl grabbed his arm with hands that felt surprisingly warm despite her blue skin. Her eyes were wide with desperation and something that looked like hope. "You can speak our language," Lisa said, moving closer with her scanner running. "I learn from your signals," the girl said quickly. "Your radio, your television, your internet. I study for many cycles to understand. I know you are humans from Earth." Tony was scanning the area for threats. The other aliens had backed away, but they weren't running. They looked scared, but also curious. "Captain, we need to be careful here. We don't know what we're walking into." The girl seemed to understand the danger. She looked over her shoulder at the broken city and then back at Jake. "My name is Zara. My people are Velathi. We were great once. We had ships that could cross the galaxy. We had knowledge that could heal worlds. But the Corvin came and took everything." "The Corvin?" Amy asked, still recording. "They rule many worlds now. They make us work in their mines and factories. They take our children and our knowledge. They will come here soon when they see your ship." Jake felt the weight of the situation settling on his shoulders. First contact protocols were clear about not interfering with alien civilizations, but this didn't look like a civilization anymore. It looked like a slave camp. "Why do you want to come with us?" Lisa asked gently. Zara's expression became even more desperate. "Because I am not just Velathi. The last scientists of my people, they made me special before the Corvin captured our world. I carry the memory of our greatest knowledge. I know things that could help the galaxy or destroy it. The Corvin seek me especially." She pulled the device from around her neck and showed it to them. It was smooth and seemed to shift color in the light. "This contains the location of ancient weapons. Weapons that could stop the Corvin or make them unstoppable if they find them first." Jake looked at his team. Lisa was clearly fascinated by the technology and the implications. Tony was worried about the tactical situation. Amy was still recording everything, which meant Earth Command would eventually see all of this. "The Corvin ships come every few months," Zara continued. "They take more of my people each time. Soon there will be none left. But if you take me, I can show your people how to fight them. I can teach you Velathi science. Together we might free my people and protect yours." Before Jake could respond, Amy's equipment started beeping frantically. "Captain, I'm detecting ships entering the system. Multiple contacts moving fast." Tony grabbed his weapon. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 30 minutes before they reach orbit." Jake looked at Zara, who had gone very pale. "Corvin?" he asked. She nodded. "They know you are here. They will think you came for me." The captain of the UES Pioneer faced the biggest decision of his career. He could follow protocol, leave the alien girl behind, and probably save his ship and crew. Or he could trust a desperate alien teenager and potentially start a war between humanity and an unknown enemy. Zara looked up at him with those large dark eyes and whispered again, "Please take me away with you." Jake Morrison stared at the alien girl for a long moment while his mind raced through the possibilities. Behind him, Amy Walsh continued monitoring the approaching ships, while Tony Rodriguez kept watch for ground threats. Dr. Lisa Parker was studying, Zara with scientific curiosity mixed with growing concern. "Captain, we need to move," Tony said urgently. "Those ships will be here soon and we're sitting ducks on the ground." Jake knew Tony was right, but he also knew that walking away from Zara would haunt him for the rest of his life. "Dr. Parker, your assessment." Lisa looked up from her scanner readings. "Captain, her biosigns are unlike anything I've seen. She's definitely Velethi, but there are technological components integrated into her nervous system. It's like she's part organic, part machine." "What does that mean?" Amy asked, without taking her eyes off her instruments. "It means she's telling the truth about being special," Lisa said. "No one does this kind of integration without a very good reason. The level of technology required is far beyond what we've seen from any other species." Zara stepped closer to Jake, her desperation evident. "I understand your fear, Captain Morrison. You do not know me or my people, but I can prove what I say is true." She held up the device from around her neck and touched it gently. The smooth surface began to glow, and suddenly Jake's comm device activated on its own. Maps appeared in the air above them, showing star systems and trade routes that Amy recognized from their navigation charts. "The Corvin control all of these systems," Zara said, pointing to red areas on the map. "They have been expanding for 200 of your years. Your Earth is here." She pointed to a blue dot at the edge of the map. "You think you are safe because you are far away, but they know about you. They have been watching your radio signals just as I have." Tony moved closer to study the holographic display. "How many ships do they have?" "Thousands," Zara replied. "But they are not warriors like your people might think. They are builders of empire. They prefer to conquer through economics and politics. They offer trade and protection, then slowly take control. But when peaceful methods fail, they have weapons that can destroy planets." Lisa was recording everything with her instruments. "Zara, you said your people created you to preserve their knowledge. What exactly did they do?" Zara's expression became sad. "The last scientists knew the Corvin would come. They could not stop the conquest, but they could try to preserve what we had learned in 10,000 years of civilization. They took volunteers and connected our minds to the great libraries. I am one of 7 who survived the process." "Where are the other 6? Jake asked. "Dead. The Corvin found them and extracted what they could before their minds burned out. I'm the last." Amy's equipment beeped again. "Captain, the ships have changed course. They're heading directly for us and accelerating." Jake made his decision. "We're taking her. Tony, get everyone back to the ship. Lisa, help Zara gather anything she needs. Amy, prep the engines for emergency departure." "Sir?" Tony said carefully. "Earth Command is going to want answers about this." "Then we'll give them answers," Jake replied. "But we're not leaving her here to die." As they moved toward the Pioneer, Zara suddenly stopped and looked back at the settlement. The other Velethi were watching from a distance, their faces filled with a mixture of hope and resignation. "They know I'm leaving," Zara said quietly. "They know the Corvin will punish them for this." "Will the Corvin hurt them?" Lisa asked. "Yes. The Corvin do not tolerate resistance. They will make examples." Jake felt his stomach tighten. By saving one alien, he might be dooming dozens of others. But leaving Zara behind wouldn't save the other Velothi either, and it would guarantee that the Corvin got access to whatever knowledge she carried. They reached the ship just as the first Corvin vessels appeared in the sky. The ships were sleek and dark, nothing like human designs. They moved with an eerie silence that made them seem more threatening than if they had roared through the atmosphere. "All hands, prepare for immediate departure," Jake announced over the ship's communication system. "Secure all stations and strap in." The Pioneer's engines came to life and the ship lifted off from the alien world. Through the viewports, Jake could see the Corvin ships moving to intercept them. They were fast, much faster than anything in the human fleet. "3 ships moving to surround us," Amy reported from her station. "They're trying to box us in." "Can we outrun them?" Jake asked. "Not in open space," replied Sam Chen, the chief engineer, over the comm. "But if we can reach the asteroid field at the edge of the system, we might have a chance." Zara was sitting in a spare chair on the bridge, still clutching her device. "Captain, may I help?" "What can you do? Your ship's computer systems are similar to some Velothi designs. If you allow me to interface with them, I can improve your engine efficiency and perhaps your shields." Tony looked alarmed. "Captain, we can't let an unknown alien access our systems." "She's right, though," Lisa said, checking her readings. "Her neural implants are designed for computer interface, and we need every advantage we can get." Jake looked at Zara's hopeful face and made another leap of faith. "Do it." Zara placed her hand on a console and closed her eyes. The device around her neck began to glow brighter, and suddenly all the ship systems started running more smoothly. The engine noise decreased while their speed increased. "How is she doing that?" Sam asked from engineering. "She's optimizing our power distribution in ways our computers never considered," Lisa explained, watching her instruments in amazement. "Our efficiency just improved by 30%. The first Corvin ship fired a warning shot that passed close to their hull." Jake could see more clearly now that the alien vessels were larger than the Pioneer and heavily armed. "They're trying to disable us, not destroy us," Amy observed. "They want us alive." "They want me alive," Zara corrected. "You they will probably kill unless you surrender me." "That's not happening," Jake said firmly. The asteroid field loomed ahead, a maze of rocks and ice that had been the remains of a shattered planet. Jake had flown through similar fields before, but never while being chased by hostile aliens. "All ships, this is Commander Vex of the Corvin Hegemony." A cold voice came over their communications. "You are carrying stolen property of the Empire. Return our asset and you will be allowed to leave this system." Jake looked at Zara, who shook her head firmly. "I am not property, Captain Morrison. I am a person who chooses to leave with you." Jake activated the comm system. "This is Captain Morrison of the UES Pioneer. The individual aboard our ship came willingly. We're leaving this system now." "Unacceptable. Prepare to be boarded." The first asteroid was the size of a small moon, and Jake flew the Pioneer around it, using its bulk to break visual contact with their pursuers. But the Corvin ships were faster and more maneuverable. They split up to surround the humans again. "Zara, can you do anything about their weapons?" Jake asked. "I can try to disrupt their targeting systems, but I need to be connected to your communications array." "Do it." As they dove deeper into the asteroid field, dodging between massive rocks while laser fire lit up the space around them, Jake realized that his simple survey mission had become something much larger. He had committed his ship and crew to protecting an alien refugee who might hold the key to humanity's future survival. The Pioneer shook as a Corvin energy beam grazed their shields, and Jake knew that the real test was just beginning. The hyperspace jump to human space took 3 days, and during that time Jake watched Zara struggle with what she had become. The connection with the Windseeker had changed her in ways that none of them fully understood. Sometimes she spoke normally, like the frightened girl they had rescued. Other times her voice carried harmonics that seemed to come from the ship itself. Dr. Lisa Parker spent most of the journey studying the Velothi technology that surrounded them. The ship's medical bay had diagnosed and treated a minor injury Tony had suffered during their escape, using methods that were decades ahead of human medicine. "It's incredible," Lisa told Jake as they stood in what the ship called the observation deck. The level of integration between biological and technological systems is beyond anything we've achieved. Zara isn't just piloting this ship, she's become part of it. Through the transparent walls, they could see the swirling colors of hyperspace, flowing past them like a river of light. Jake found it beautiful but also unsettling. Is she still human? I mean, still herself? I think so, but she's also something more now. The ship's computer has merged with her consciousness. She has access to databases that contain the history and knowledge of an entire civilization. Amy Walsh joined them, looking worried. Captain, I've been monitoring our communications. We're getting closer to human space and I'm starting to pick up signals from Earth Command. They're not happy about losing contact with the Pioneer. Jake had been dreading this moment. What are they saying? Admiral Patricia Hayes has declared us overdue and possibly lost. There are search ships being dispatched to our last known location. When they find wreckage from the Pioneer, they'll assume we're dead, Jake finished, until we show up in an alien ship with an alien crew member. Tony Rodriguez came up from the lower decks where he had been exploring the ship's defensive systems. Captain, we need to talk about what we're walking into. When Earth Command sees this ship, their first assumption is going to be invasion. Jake knew Tony was right. Humanity had been exploring space for over a century, but had never encountered a living alien civilization. First contact protocols existed, but they were written for peaceful meetings, not for humans arriving in alien warships with refugee aliens who claimed that a hostile empire was planning to attack Earth. Zara, Jake called out, can you join us? The alien girl appeared almost instantly, moving through the ship with an eerie grace that suggested she wasn't entirely walking but flowing along with the ship's systems. When she spoke, her voice shifted, between her own and something more musical. I know what you are thinking, Captain Morrison. You wonder if bringing me to your people will cause more harm than good. The thought has occurred to me, Jake admitted. Your presence is going to change everything for humanity. Are we ready for that? No species is ever ready for change, Zara replied. But the alternative is worse. The Corvan hegemony has been studying your people for decades. They know your technology, your politics, your weaknesses. They will come whether I am with you or not. Lisa leaned forward. What exactly is their plan for humanity? The same plan they use for all species. First, they will offer trade agreements and mutual defense treaties. They will appear as benevolent allies who want to help humanity advance. Some of your leaders will welcome them. And then, Amy asked, then they will slowly take control of your economy, your military, your government. Within a generation, humanity will be servants of the hegemony, just like my people became. The process is so gradual that many species never realize what has happened until it is too late. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. How do we stop them? Knowledge is the first defense. Your people must understand what they face. But knowledge alone is not enough. You need weapons and allies. The ancient weapons you mentioned? Zara's expression became troubled. Yes, but they are dangerous. My people created them in desperation during the last war before the Corvan conquest. They are powerful enough to destroy entire fleets, but they require a terrible price. What kind of price? Tony asked. They feed on life force itself. To power them, someone must sacrifice their life energy. My people used them only once, against a Corvan invasion fleet. The weapons worked, but the pilots who used them were drained completely. They died to save our world, but in the end it only delayed our defeat. The group fell silent as they absorbed this information. They were carrying a refugee who possessed knowledge of weapons that could save humanity, but only at the cost of human lives. There has to be another way, Lisa said. Some defensive technology that doesn't require sacrifice. Perhaps, Zara agreed. The Windseeker's databases contain much information that your scientists might find useful. Shield technology, faster than light communication, medical advances. But all of this will take time to develop, and the Corvan will not wait. Amy's communication equipment suddenly activated. Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Hayes is ordering all ships to report their status immediately. Jake made his decision. Open a channel. The holographic display activated, and Admiral Patricia Hayes appeared, a stern woman with gray hair and the bearing of someone who had spent her life in military service. Her expression grew confused when she saw Jake standing in the alien ship's observation deck. Captain Morrison, what is your status? We lost contact with the Pioneer 3 days ago. Admiral, I'm reporting that we have made first contact with an alien species. The Pioneer was lost during the encounter, but my crew is safe aboard an alien vessel. Hayes' eyes widened. Captain, are you under duress? Is this some kind of joke? No, ma'am. This is very real. We rescued an alien refugee who possesses critical information about a hostile empire that threatens human space. I'm requesting permission to bring her to Earth for debriefing. The Admiral's expression hardened. Captain Morrison, you are ordered to return to the nearest human outpost immediately for questioning, and you are to surrender any alien technology or personnel to Earth Command for proper evaluation. Jake looked at Zara, who shook her head almost imperceptibly. He knew what the Admiral meant by proper evaluation. Zara would be treated as a specimen to be studied, not as a person seeking refuge. Admiral, with respect, this alien is not a prisoner or property. She came with us voluntarily, and has already proven invaluable in helping us escape hostile forces. Captain, you are in violation of first contact protocols and possibly guilty of treason. You will comply with orders or face court-martial. Before Jake could respond, Amy's equipment started screaming alarms. Captain, I'm detecting massive hyperspace signatures. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL near the edge of human space. Zara's face went pale. The Corvin. They followed our trail through hyperspace. They're here. On the communication display, Admiral Hayes was receiving her own reports. Captain, we're detecting unknown ships entering our territory. Large vessels, definitely not human design. Those are Corvin warships, Admiral. They've come for Zara, and they won't hesitate to destroy anything in their way. The Admiral's expression changed from anger to alarm. How many ships? Zara closed her eyes and communed with the Windseeker's sensors. When she opened them, her voice carried the ship's harmonic undertones. 17 war cruisers, each capable of destroying your largest battleships. They carry enough firepower to reduce a planet to ash. Jake looked at the Admiral's shocked face on the display. Admiral, we need to work together on this. Zara has knowledge that could save us all, but only if we trust her. Hayes was quiet for a long moment, processing the reality that humanity's first contact with alien life was turning into their first interstellar war. Finally, she spoke. Captain Morrison, you and your alien ally are ordered to report to Earth. Command immediately. We need to know everything about these Corvin and how to fight them. As the Windseeker changed course toward Earth, Jake realized that everything was about to change for humanity. The question was whether they would be strong enough to survive what was coming. The Windseeker arrived at Earth just as the Corvin fleet reached the outer edge of human space. Jake stood on the alien ship's bridge, watching through the viewports as hundreds of human vessels scrambled to form defensive lines around humanity's homeworld. It was the largest military mobilization in human history, but Jake knew it wouldn't be enough. Admiral Hayes had assembled every available ship from across human space. Battle cruisers, destroyers, fighter squadrons, and even converted civilian vessels joined the fleet. The sight was impressive, but the Corvin ships were larger, more advanced, and had been built specifically for conquest. Captain Morrison, this is Earth Command, came the Admiral's voice over the communication system. You are cleared to dock at Station Alpha. We need that alien's information immediately. Zara stood beside Jake, her connection to the Windseeker, allowing her to monitor both human and Corvin communications simultaneously. Her face was pale with the strain of processing so much information. The Corvin commander is broadcasting surrender demands, she reported. They want me returned to them, and they want humanity to submit to hegemony rule. In exchange, they promise our people will be treated as valued citizens of their empire. And if we refuse, Dr. Lisa Parker asked, they will demonstrate their power by destroying one of your outer colonies as an example. Tony Rodriguez was studying tactical displays showing the positions of both fleets. "How long do we have?" 6 hours before they begin their attack, Zara replied. "But Captain, there is something else. I have been monitoring Corvin internal communications. They are not just here for me. This is the beginning of their planned conquest of human space. My rescue was simply the excuse they needed to begin. Early." Jake felt a mixture of relief and dread. Relief that his actions hadn't caused this war, but dread at what it meant for humanity. Can we win? Not with conventional weapons. The Corvin have conquered dozens of species with technology, similar to yours, but there is another way. The Windseeker docked at Earth Command's primary station, and Jake's crew transferred to meet with Admiral Hayes and the Emergency Council. The Admiral was a stern woman, but Jake could see the weight of responsibility in her eyes as she briefed them on humanity's desperate situation. "Every major power on Earth has contributed ships to the defense fleet," Hayes explained. "We have 800 vessels ready for combat. Our best estimates suggest the Corvin have 17 ships. 17 ships that could each destroy 50 of ours," Zara said quietly. She had remained connected to the Windseeker even while physically present in the briefing room, and her voice carried harmonic overtones that made everyone pay attention. "General." Peter Collins, the head of Earth's unified military, leaned forward. "You mentioned weapons that could help us. Ancient Valathi technology." "Yes, but the cost is terrible. To use the Starkiller weapons, someone must give their life force to power them. 1 person dies for each weapon fired." The room fell silent. Finally, Admiral Hayes spoke. "How many weapons would we need?" "Against this fleet? Perhaps 5 or 6. But General, there is something you must understand. If we use these weapons, if we show the galaxy that humanity has access to Valathi technology, the Corvin will never stop hunting us. They will bring 1,000 ships next time." Jake stood up. "Then we need a different solution, something that doesn't just win this battle but ends the threat permanently." Zara's eyes brightened, and for the first time since connecting with the Windseeker, she sounded completely like herself. "There is one possibility. The Corvin hegemony is not truly controlled by the Corvin people. They serve something called the Convergence, an artificial intelligence that seeks to absorb all organic life into itself." "A machine intelligence?" Lisa asked, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "Yes, but more than that. It is a collective consciousness that believes organic life is chaotic and inefficient. It wants to convert all living beings into extensions of itself. The Corvin serve it willingly because it promises them order and purpose." General Collins was taking notes. "Where is this convergence located?" "That is the secret the Valathi discovered before our defeat. The convergence exists primarily as a signal broadcast from a massive computer core hidden in the galaxy's center. If that signal could be disrupted, every Corvin ship would lose its connection to the collective mind that guides them. They would be free to think for themselves again, Jake realized. Exactly. But reaching the galaxy's center would require someone to sacrifice themselves just as surely as using the ancient weapons. The journey through the galactic core's radiation and gravitational fields would kill any organic being. Admiral Hayes looked at her tactical displays showing the approaching deadline. "We don't have time to plan a mission to the galaxy's center. We need a solution for the fleet that's threatening Earth right now." Zara was quiet for a moment, communing with the Windseeker's vast databases. When she spoke again, her voice carried a new determination. "There is another way, but it requires trust between our species." "What kind of trust?" Jake asked. "The Windseeker can carry a small team to the Corvin fleet's command ship. If we can capture their commander and link him to the ship's systems, I can show him the truth about the convergence. Corvin are not evil people, Captain Morrison. They are slaves who have forgotten they were ever free." "That's incredibly dangerous," Tony pointed out. "You're talking about boarding an enemy warship during battle." "Yes, but it's our only chance to end this without massive loss of life on both sides." Admiral Hayes looked around the room at the faces of her staff and Jake's crew. "How many people would this mission require?" "A pilot, a security officer, and myself," Zara replied. "The Windseeker can penetrate their shields and dock with their command ship, but the boarding party must be small to avoid detection. Jake knew what he had to do. "I'll pilot the mission." "Captain, I can't ask you to do this," Admiral Hayes said. "You're not asking. I'm volunteering. This started when I decided to help Zara, and I'm going to see it through." Tony stepped forward. "If the captain goes, I go with him." "And I need to go too," Lisa added. "If we're going to prove the truth about the convergence to a Corvan commander, we'll need someone who can understand and explain the science." Admiral Hayes looked at them for a long moment, then nodded. "God help us all. How long do you need to prepare?" "The Windseeker is already ready," Zara replied. "We can launch immediately." As they prepared to leave Earth Command Station, Jake took one last look at the planet below. Blue and green and beautiful, home to 8 billion people who had no idea their fate was about to be decided by a small team aboard an alien ship. The Windseeker undocked and accelerated toward the Corvan fleet. Through the ship's sensors, Jake could see the massive alien vessels holding position just outside Earth's defensive perimeter. They were impressive and terrifying, but he also noticed something else. The ships moved in perfect coordination, like parts of a single machine rather than individual vessels commanded by thinking beings. "That's the convergence's influence," Zara explained, noticing his observation. "It reduces complex beings to simple components of a larger system. But underneath that control, the original personalities still exist." As they approached the Corvan command ship, a vessel the size of a city that bristled with weapons, Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. In the next few hours, they would either save both species from war or die trying. "Remember," Zara said as they prepared to dock, "we're not here to fight the Corvan, we're here to free them." The Windseeker attached itself to the enemy ship's hull and began cutting through the armor plating. Jake checked his weapon and looked at his small team. Tony was ready for combat if needed. Lisa carried scanning equipment to document whatever they found, and Zara held the knowledge that could change everything. "For Earth," Jake said quietly. "For freedom," Zara replied. They entered the Corvan ship together, ready to face whatever waited inside and hoping that compassion could triumph over conquest, that understanding could defeat fear, and that the desperate plea of one alien girl could ultimately save 2 civilizations from destroying each other.